There are waves around here that would fold you in half.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That are world class.
That have folded you in half.
Yeah. A shortboard needs to have a knife sharp nose on it. Is there a design?
There is a reason, yeah.
Is there? What is it?
Yeah, they're called longboarders.
Very good.
Hello and welcome to the UK Surf Show. We are your hosts. I'm Pete.
And I'm Mitch, and on today's episode, we are on the second episode of the Northeast edition with one Mr. John Pease, comedian, surfer, owner, founder, builder of a podcast. I don't know. I was trying to think of more things in there.
The North Swell podcast, which is a podcast primarily set up to, dedicated to the Northeast and the surfers of the Northeast and the massive area of surfing, which is, I think, as we've discussed already, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not underestimated.
Underappreciated, undervalued.
Yeah, undervalued, and it's a really good place to surf. Great little conversation. We filmed this one at Secret Spot Surf Shop. Someone might be coming up from that in future episodes, but yeah.
I wonder who that could be.
We'll just jump straight in, and here we go.
All right. So, my name's John Pease, and I also make a surf podcast. Mine's called North Swell Podcast, and it's meant to be like about gathering stories from the North Sea surf scene.
Yeah.
But obviously from the perspective of like an involved outsider, because right off the bat, I do not consider myself a local.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm an involved outsider.
So how local is non-local?
So I live in York, so I can
that's
reach.
Northeast.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, so I can reach a lot of the places where people would surf in like an hour and a half.
To be honest, everything past Bristol's north to me.
Yeah.
But there's an argument to say that you're actually better placed because you've now got options, right?
There is that argument. That's the argument that I tell myself.
And you told me outside, so I've just used that as if I'm geographically alert.
Yeah, no, it does. You do have a few more options of where you can head to but yeah, it's just don't want people to think that I'm sort of claiming a great degree of local knowledge or anything like that.
I thought it was you told us that we should get you on because you were the hearsay and all-important voice of the Northeast.
I thought you were the Sherpa guide.
Don't bother interviewing anyone else.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
Well, all these secret spots you've told us about as well.
Yeah, exactly.
There was North Bay.
I've given you the full map.
Yeah.
West Bay.
Yeah.
So let's chat about your surfing before we even get to another podcast.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where did surfing start for you?
So on a family holiday somewhere in France that I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly where.
Okay.
Because it's back in the mid-90s we're probably talking about now. And I remember like I could skate at that point in terms of stand on a board and go down a hill and do some little turns.
Yeah.
And we went to this beach and I remember seeing these kids who were like on a really steep sand berm that you can get that goes down to the sea. Yeah. And they were like running along with what turned out to be skimboards, chucking them down and skimming down into the sea. Yeah. And I thought
down the dunes?
Just down like into a shore break, basically. Not really like proper skimming, just into the sea. And I remember thinking I need to get involved in some of that action. That looks fun. Yeah. Like pestered my dad for what I thought was the right thing. And I got like a classic polyester bodyboard.
Nice.
And I remember like taking a big run up, chucking it down onto wet sand, leaping onto it, and obviously it stopped dead because it didn't have the slick bottom that you would need. And I just like did 4 forward rolls and ended up in the sea. And then I was too proud to tell my dad that I'd bought the wrong thing. I was like, I've got to find something to do with this thing. Started messing around in shore break, figured that you could get pushed forward by a wave. Doing that for 2 hours. Then my parents went, we've got to go off the beach. We'll be back in a bit. Do not go out to the big waves on that sandbar. Promise me you will not go out to the big waves on that sandbar. As soon as they left, I went straight out and like managed to get like pushed forward by a wave, got that proper surge of speed, and that was it then. I was just like, I need to do this all the time. But the problem was, when we were back from holiday in France, we lived just outside London. So I became like surf obsessive 14-year-old, despite being nowhere near the sea, despite never having stood on a
Magazines
board.
galore and
Exactly. All the magazines, all the
W.H.
videos.
Smith at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Used to sell them all in.
Yeah, lots of skating, lots of like, trying to pull in under bushes and stuff and pretend that you're getting barreled on a skateboard and stuff like that. And then like eventually, so my dad used to work for the Foreign Office, which means that you spend time living in England, then you get posted abroad.
Yeah.
He got a posting to Tel Aviv in Israel, and we were like 10 minutes walk from the beach.
Oh,
so when I got there, I was like, that's it. Now I can surf, and it's Mediterranean beach break, so it's there are little waves there and stuff. And I tried to teach myself to surf on like completely the wrong equipment, completely the wrong instruction process. Like, I think I'd seen Point Break, and I'd seen the scene where she teaches him how to surf, where Tia Leone teaches Keanu Reeves how to surf, and she goes, both feet have to land on the board at the same time, or you're going to be fish food, like that.
Yeah.
That was in my head. That is the worst advice for how to take off. Honest, no one takes off both feet at once, so it took me like 2 years to sort of learn how to take off, but I got there in the end.
It almost sounds like that rite of passage, which everyone that didn't go and get a lesson sort of does. They pick up all this bad advice from like different
weird
media outlets.
This is generational problematic advice from different sources of TV, film, or whatever.
I think now there's a lot more information like available like that, where you can just be like,
100%.
right, that I can do that. Whereas like 80s, 90s, it was everything was trial and error.
Yeah.
You worked out when you stopped getting hurt, you've worked out how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an important point, though. I think there's an element of learning yourself. Like,
well, it did in a way. It does sort of make you feel like you've paid your dues a bit more in a strange sort of way. But similarly, like I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Like trying to sort of teach yourself to stand up both feet at once on a potato chip shortboard.
I'm not doing it. You got a perfect pop up. You think you're not doing it right because it's.
No.
I wondered as well. I guess parenting advice. If your parents hadn't said to you, don't go out back there.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about it till you mentioned it. That's exactly where I'm going. Or did you already eye it up?
I hadn't, to be honest. I think I might have been eyeing it up. It's quite dim in memory. I think I probably would have been looking, otherwise I doubt my dad would have said, don't go out there. He'd probably clocked it. But it'd be nice, wouldn't it, if he'd planted the seed?
Maybe
it'd be nice. Maybe he wanted me to. Maybe he was like, don't go out there. But he
sink
actually
or swim,
meant,
son.
Yeah.
Another rite of passage.
Yeah. He actually meant, do you want to be a surfer, do you? Get out the back. Yeah.
And that must have been a pretty good experience. You got hooked by the sounds of it pretty quick.
Yeah, but really early on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like just chasing it for ages. And then we had to move back to the UK, and I spent like probably 10 years away from surfing. Didn't get in the water for ages. Went on a holiday to Portugal about 5 years ago into the Algarve. I think it was like might have been my 35th birthday.
Yeah.
Saw some people surfing. Thought, I'm going to hire a board and paddle out. Literally nearly drowned. Didn't catch a wave. No fitness. Like crawled out of the sea. Like went temporarily blind. Like not good at all.
Wait, elaborate on this story.
Yeah. Oh, no, because I couldn't see. If we should get my girlfriend in, she'd be like, yeah, he was complaining that he couldn't see for about 5 minutes. And then I had some crisps and I was all right. But and then at that point, that can go two ways, can't it? You either go, that's not for me anymore. Yeah. Hang that up.
Why do we fall, Bruce?
Yeah. But for me, it was like, no, I'm not having that. And then it was just, how can I get surfing as much as possible? I lived in Coventry at the time, so I used to Rest Bay quite a lot of trips to South Wales.
Big up Rest Bay.
Yeah, and the Wave a couple of times, and then just a job opportunity came up in York.
Okay.
And went for it, because then I can be a bit closer and so I do loads of swimming and just come and get in.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I still surf to a standard which I am just about happy with. But if you saw me surfing, you'd be like, come on now, that's not particularly impressive.
I think we can all relate to that.
I think we can,
at least
definitely.
in this half of the room.
Yeah. I like it sort of knee to head high and gently peeling.
Gently peeling.
See, we had this conversation the other day, and you were saying I like sort of chest to head high, like clean, and you were going through it, and I just like these waves, and I was like, Mate, you're describing everyone's perfect
Everyone's
wave.
favourite, yeah.
It's
I like it being punchier, but after I've taken off and done my bottom turn, then
Yeah,
it can
same.
do what it wants. I'm happy because for me the hardest thing's just getting to my feet. I don't really care what happens after that. That's why I know that the only time in my life I'm going to get barreled will be where I've already done all the work I need to do.
Yeah, when
and
it's
it just
a
happens
roll-in.
to throw over the top
Yeah.
of me. I know what will happen if it's going to happen, but it won't be because I've knifed in, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the Algarve as well. That also sounds like a bit of a rite of way or a rite of passage, because I remember going on the first surf trip, just past my surf instructor course, which obviously meant I could do airs and stuff because I was so good.
Yeah.
So like I was so on it, which I clearly wasn't. Went to the Algarve and there's a photo of me. I can't remember the spot, maybe Arafana. I'm just making
It might be the same one. Might be the same one that I had my near drowning
and
experience at.
There's a photo where I was paddling out, and any surfer would know that actually that wave's like 5 deeper than where I'm sat. But there's a photo of me just sat looking at this bomb that's just broken, but the white water is like, it must be like 3 times overhead, and it's one of them like, and it's at that point Mitch knew he fucked up. And it's like, you don't make that mistake again.
No.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
Well,
you probably do.
You do make that.
We don't learn.
Yeah, you don't learn from that. Do you make that mistake
What
all the
flavour
time?
were the crisps?
I think they were like Portuguese herb flavour or something.
Don't even know what that means.
it was pretty left field, but they were good.
But
yeah,
that got the site back.
yeah, it did. Yeah, basically, I just overfaced myself. I was unfit,
Yeah.
and I don't know what. I've never lost my sight again since then. But just for a couple of minutes.
Weird. What was your expectation of the water in Portugal? Because I went there assuming because it was in Europe, it was just I was going to be in boardies, and I went there and it was as cold as it was at home.
It's
I was
4
gutted.
threes, isn't it? It's 4 threes in winter and like 3 2s in the summer and stuff. But yeah, I hired a wetsuit and a board, so I don't know what I was expecting, but it's up here that the cold will get you.
Oh, big time.
This is easily the coldest place I've ever surfed, but you get a lot of people watching, like coming and speaking to you when you're changing, going, you must be crazy going out there. But wetsuits are that good, aren't they? Like,
they are, yeah, totally.
I was saying that like the other day when we were in, that it was colder out of the water than it was in the water.
Yeah,
it felt
100%.
like, just because of that first one that hit me in the face, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But after that, it wasn't too bad in the water at all.
It's the midst of winter, when the thing you can't protect, your eyeballs, even when you close your eyes.
Yeah.
And it hurts so much. It's the only way to describe surfing in the winter. Everywhere else was roasty toasty, but my eyes are spinning in my head.
But Mitch's theory is that he said that this part of the
East
UK,
Coast.
Saltburn, this part of the UK is actually the coldest part of the whole
So
country.
obviously I surf further north of the East Coast in Scotland, and this is pretty much as far south as you can go, bar a few odd spots. But the Saltburn area, for me, my experience is, and we're not talking about 4 or 5 degrees difference, probably like quarter of a degree.
Yeah.
But it is the peak of the coldest water I've ever surfed in the UK.
I mean, this is theorizing, but like when big north swells push down, they are coming from the Arctic Circle, aren't they? So I don't know. Maybe it makes sense that the water's cold. When
So we'll just agreed it with data science. So happy.
No, that's what I said before. So what made you want to start a podcast then, a surfing podcast?
I thought I might get something for free out of it. No,
How did that work?
Yeah.
Well, you've got all these scooters here, do you know?
Yeah, true. I've got my scooter collection. No, I do quite like the sound of my own voice. I don't mind talking.
Yeah.
I thought it might be there didn't seem to be one about this area, about like Yorkshire and the northeast. I will confess to being a bit influenced by you and Leighton in the early days, and thinking that doesn't sound that difficult. I reckon I could have a crack.
And then you started it and went, oh, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's more work than I expected it to be. No, I was just sort of tinkering around with my day job. Like, I do have a bit of time. That's off the record. I do have a bit of time where I can tinker around with stuff.
You
like
just
that.
realise there might be someone listening, like your missus or something. Like.
On the record.
Actually, I'm really busy.
I'm really
flat
busy all the time. Totally flat.
26 hours a day working.
But I just thought, give it a go, see what happens. And so far, both of the listeners say it's really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. It's a small thing, but it's been really good to chat to the people that I've spoken to.
What have you
Nice
found that is challenging in setting up?
But so I think it is, like, for me, it's demonstrating the value proposition to the guests that I want to bring on.
Okay.
Because like if you're a very grassroots podcast and you've got like, I don't know, 500 people following you on Instagram, and you approach somebody a bit bigger and say, would you like to come on my podcast?
Yeah.
There's really not that much incentive for them to do it other than being nice and doing you a favour.
Yeah.
And that is how I view everyone that's been on mine so far. They've been nice and doing me a favour by coming on. And we've had some really good chats and stuff like that. But and also like, I don't have illusions of it being like globally popular. Like surfing's a niche anyway.
Yeah.
The Northeast is a niche of surfing.
Do you think it's a problem thinking globally is too much?
No, not for you guys.
Well,
Good.
no, I think
You're
Good
halfway
shatter
there
my
already.
dreams.
in this conversation, one of us thinks like that and one of us does not.
Okay.
One of us is in contact every other day with the likes of Red Bull or something, just try to see what we can do.
Yeah.
And the other one, I'm like, Pete, did you listen to this episode? Because there's a really important bit I need you to check up on. No. That's kind of how it goes now.
It's somewhere between the two of you is probably where I am.
Yeah, so that middle ground is where that's why it works then, because like we got one extreme to the other. Like,
I do all of it.
Yeah.
Pete turns up.
That's it. I spent the time at the beginning, setting that up and like doing that. And Leighton was I did everything, and then he just like turned up. And now I'm thinking, well, Mitch can take that over
Leighton
now.
was his Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it works well. But yeah, so how difficult do you find it then? Like, getting those guests, as you started to say then with.
To be honest, so there's a guy who does photos of the local area, and if you don't follow him, you should. And he's called Chris Kendall, and he was nice enough to take a punt on being the first ever guest.
Yeah.
And like quite a lot of people follow him, and if he hadn't have done it, it would have been me talking to myself in my bedroom for 6 months. And
It
like,
doesn't sound like you would have been against that, though. I think you'd have been down for that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably would have been all right. But he took a punt on being the first guest, and then once he did it, that enabled me to speak to some other people that know him, and then it's just a lot of like looking on Instagram, following accounts that you think might want to have a chat, send them messages, And I'd also spoken to Gary. He runs a surf shop called Bob Gnarly up in South
I spoke
Shields.
to Gary this week, actually,
Yeah.
Great name of a surf shop, that.
It's divine inspiration that gave him that, I think. But yeah, he did one as well pretty early days, and he's like said to people, would, get in touch with John if you want to go on, do a podcast.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, like, because when we started a podcast, we were like, it's a very niche thing, and it's like, I think a bit of naivety as well, not realising it was as niche as it was. But then you've sort of gone even a step further. You've gone a niche within the niche as well.
Yeah.
So
because you already had the UK niche, so I couldn't take that one.
Well,
The GB niche.
Yeah. GB niche. Yeah. But it's the thing of like, I think it's good to have those things that are like in that as well, because obviously we've come to the Northeast for a week and we do like bits and pieces, but we can't see everyone here.
No.
And same when we go to Wales, same, like we go to these places and see them, but if you're here living it all the time, you've got access to these people and find out about these stories from like local people that we wouldn't find out about and stuff like that. So it's a different angle again. And I mean, it's a totally different style of like podcast as well. I think it's good that there's a lot of variation of it for people to listen to and things for people to find out about.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like I've started to slightly change my mentality. What I'm doing with Swell is like, originally I was thinking, let's find the biggest possible guest in the area and I'll interview them, and then that'll make me blow up.
Yeah.
And like it's the wrong way of doing it. So now what I'm thinking is, let's just find someone that I think is interesting, that runs an account. Doesn't matter if it's got 20 followers or 5 million. But if I think they're interesting and they want to come on and have a chat, then I'll have a chat with them, and we'll put the podcast.
Well, do you know what the thing is though, and I'd say that's definitely the right mentality, because that person with the 5 million is unlikely to share it.
Yeah.
So then their stories have probably been held before.
Yeah, exactly.
So from you as a podcast, you actually don't get a huge deal out of it, because really what you're trying to do is get to their target, their audience.
Yeah.
And it's probably not going to happen. But what we've definitely found. Not to say that the bigger names haven't gone down well, because they have, but the unexpected guests, just that, like we were saying before, that local legend that nobody outside of that area has a clue who they are,
Yeah.
for us have gone down so much better than any big names we've had on.
Yeah, 100%.
Unquestionably.
And I've had a thought about how I can take it in another different, slightly direction. So the latest episode that's come out is like I've got a sort of format to hang it on called the surf capsule format.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where basically
Getting
it's
opened
like a sort of desert island disc-y type thing.
Oh, yeah. That's
Where,
cool.
so you pick 3 things that would sum you up as a surfer, and you put them in your surf capsule, and we'll chat about each thing for 10 minutes.
Right.
We've got a question, actually, that we added recently, which is what 3 things would sum you up as a surfer?
Nice.
I don't know how I would answer that.
Well, you're both going to do it one day, so you better have a think about it, if that's all right.
That's cool. Yeah, definitely.
But
yeah, it is a difficult thing, actually. Just that's just made me think of that now already, and I'm like,
yeah, the first guy that did it is called Jasper, and he makes he's like a backyard shaper.
yeah,
Right.
And he lives down in Peterborough.
Okay.
And his stuff's called Reef Keeper surfboards, and they are so beautiful, these things that he's
Right.
made. I've had a go on one, and they go really well as well. And he just did a little chat about the three things that he would pick. So
yeah.
that's the kind of thing that I feel like then I don't have to be just talking to people from around here.
Yeah.
I could talk to anyone about that if they wanted to. So it's just an interesting, like, fun thing to do, isn't it? The podcast journey.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's I like that. I love the fact of like hearing different stories. Like we said, it's amazing, like getting some big names and stuff like that. But so much more interesting hearing stories about people that you wouldn't even think to, or like
It's just normal people
yeah,
doing
just
really
normal
cool
stories
things,
and
or really humble things, or they're giving back to the surf. They're giving back to the surf world in a way that nobody would ever know or appreciate, except the direct contact people that are receiving, whether it be some, I don't know, therapy surf groups or something like that. And you just don't see it, but it's so important.
Yeah.
We had a guest yesterday. We spoke to a couple of people, and it was just quite nice to hear how they were going about, the way they were giving back. It actually sounded quite unique to me from quite a lot of other surf clubs I'm aware of anyway. And it's quite nice to see there's also people doing it different. There isn't a format, there isn't a right, there isn't
It's
a wrong.
almost like they're creating a community within that, a community within the community.
Yeah, and the community, like the community around here, is very strong.
Yeah.
Like the surf community in this area is like, you know, it deals with a lot of people coming in the summer and stuff. Deals with the same sort of crowd issues that people have, but is generally quite a good-natured, open, inviting place to surf. But like, and also there's so many different levels of surfing in this area. Like there are waves around here that would, you know, that would fold you in half.
Oh yeah, for
like,
sure.
That are world class.
That have folded you in half already.
In fact, I got my mouth opened up here by a board. Like,
Right.
My lips, like I came. It's the first time I ever surfaced after a wipeout without covering my head. You know, if you don't feel the tug on your board.
Yeah.
Like I came up and I don't know why, but my face obviously came out of the water before the top of my head, and it just met the nose of my board. And it, honestly, you should have seen it. It was pretty brutal. And I felt that I could see there was a little bit of blood on my glove. And it was when I looked at my mate, it was his face, I knew it wasn't good.
Oh God,
He was white. He's like, oh.
They used to sell that. They don't do them anymore. But do you remember diamond tips? They were like a rubber.
I've got one in the
end
van actually. Somebody
that you
gave me
stuck
it
on the
day.
front of a.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like I don't think that there is an actual reason why a shortboard needs to have a knife sharp nose on it. Is there a design?
There
reason?
is a reason, yeah.
Is there? What is
Yeah,
it?
they're called longboarders.
Oh, very good.
There you go.
Right, come at you with it.
Yeah. So you said earlier about you surf the wave as well. How did you find that, surfing a wave pool?
Yeah, it was fun. Like the first time I did it, I felt like everyone was watching me, and I got like stage fright in the sort of takeoff area, and it's
What
one of those.
setting did you surf? Can you remember?
I've done the intermediate.
The first time though.
Intermediate for the first time, and I've done advanced as well. And like, yeah, it's fun. It's just quite an intense atmosphere. I think it's nothing like surfing in the sea, really.
Yeah.
You know, when you're up on the wave, it is a bit like surfing in the sea, but everything else is completely alien experience. But like, you know, I'm not anti-wave pool. Like, they're really fun. Like, and if people are thinking of going, then I fully recommend going to the nearest wave pool. But you'll have a choice soon about whether you go.
Where's the
north
nearest
or
one
south.
to here, son?
It's going to be Edinburgh, isn't it?
Is it?
Just about, I'd say.
What are they calling it?
I think it's called Lost Shore.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Well, sure, surf resort. Is it?
Yeah.
I think
Or is
I
it-
heard it's the it'll be the biggest one in Europe, but also the world's first surf resort.
Okay, so is it actually bigger than the Bristol one?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'll have to go there then.
Europe's
instead.
biggest. That's,
No
that's
way.
what I've heard.
Okay.
How do you know that?
Not that I don't know a lot about it. I don't work there.
But yeah, no, that would be pretty
But
good.
it is
actually.
exciting though, isn't it? It's exciting
Yeah.
to have that option and that whole, because where's your go-to spot from York? Is this kind of where you would aim to go first?
Yeah, so without, like, I don't think I'm going to give anything away. This is all on Surfline anyway, the places where I would surf. But yeah, so if you're in York, you're looking at Scarborough, Whitby, or
Yeah.
Saltburn are
Yeah.
your three. And then they all work better in slightly different
Yeah.
conditions. So I can sort of pick and choose where I'm going to head to on any given day. I think
Yeah.
I've put 37,000 miles on my car in 2 years. So
That's actually an interesting stat. I wonder how many miles are just surf miles, and then I
Yeah.
wonder how many of them miles are surf disappointment and immediately turn around and drive home miles.
it's important not to think about it. Yeah, I've never done the immediate turnaround and drive back. I've literally like
Oh, you're
paddled
not?
out in the.
The thing is, when
the
you drive
worst.
that long, you're just like, I'm here now. Anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'll get changed before I've even checked the waves. There's Caton Bay around here. You can't really see from where you park. You have to walk quite a long way down and look down. I'll just pull up, get changed, and walk down. Like if I'm there, I'm getting in.
Yeah.
That's
no
an
matter
interesting take on it, because I'm not. I guess there's a few different like turn up strategies, isn't there? Like people's SOPs. For me, like I hate the people that need to stand in the car park or whatever it is close to the beach and almost like distribute their knowledge of, well, there's a bowl over here and I'll tell you when you get across one. Shut the fuck up. I can see it's good enough to surf or it isn't. So I'll turn up and I'm just gonna. I don't care what anyone else is telling me.
Yeah.
It's good enough or it's not. That's literally it. I've been to a beach before with a couple of army surfers, and I shit you not, guy pulled out a prismatic compass, started checking angles and like wind, and I'm like, mate, we're already here. You can see it's on. Like, what does it matter about directions now? Like, fair enough, maybe last night when you're doing research, I'm just going magic seaweed at the time it was, but I'm like, that's just stupid. Just get in or don't. But that's a brave call, getting in the suit before you've seen it.
Yeah. So I do a lot of the pre-work basically. So I did have a bit of a stage where I would drive to one spot and end up driving around 3 or 4 and trying to check them. And that's you're just eating into the time when you could be surfing.
I was just going to say, just driving around here now, it's like 6 hours driving, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you're losing the light and you're losing the tide and all kinds of things. So I've 99% decided where I'm going to be surfing, what the window is, and I'm just pulling up exactly there.
Okay.
And I'm in, and then after 2 hours, my back is like, you should not be surfing anymore. So I have to
See,
get out.
my southern arrogance was thinking that, and speaking to someone who actually was posted up here and lived around here, that like Scarborough, Newcastle, Bamborough, we're all like, like that close to each other.
Does look a bit like that on the map.
Yeah.
20 minutes away from each other.
On the map.
Yeah.
So someone said, well, when we got to Scarborough one day, oh yeah, it's all right, it's only about an hour's drive.
That's not true, is it?
Oh, sorry, hour and a half.
Thank you. I do remember. I mean, I'd never ever driven from Bamborough to Scarborough in my defence, but from where I was in Thirsk, it was about an hour and a half to both.
Yeah.
So I just assumed an hour and a half. But when I looked at it, I was like, well, that's actually a little bit further than I recall.
Yeah. It's nice place. It's nice to be around this area though. There's lots of good places you can get to. Like,
do you get a double disappointment if you have put the suit on and then you get over to the reveal and it's shit? Or do you just...
I'm usually prepared for the fact that it's probably going to be a bit shit. But I think this is an interesting thing that happens like the more you surf is... I used to be a much more accepting of just paddling out in anything. And now I'm a bit more discerning about like, I don't know if I'm going to drive over because it's going to be on shore, and like sometimes that's a helpful mentality. And sometimes that just means you don't surf enough. And like, if I didn't have the membership of the leisure centre swimming pool, I wouldn't be able to catch a wave at all.
Yeah.
Like, because you can end up being too selective when you're far away.
Wave snobbery, I think it
is, isn't it? Yeah, you're like,
it's a funny one because I actually think surfing shite waves is such there's a learning thing in there. Like I think you get a lot out of it because it makes you. Well, you have to paddle more, for one. You have to be more selective. It makes you read waves. There's so much in it that I think you can benefit out of. And I think it can progress your better wave surfing, potentially. But like you say, ultimately, you just never surf. If you were just to go in on like really choosy waves, you're never going to get in.
Yeah, exactly. So I've had to have a little word with myself at some point because I was literally driving over whenever there was a ripple. So I had to try and make a slightly more selective. When all the fuel costs went like through the roof, I was like, right, come on. There has to be at least okay before you get in the car.
It's nice when you when you come back from like a surf trip, you've been away for 2 weeks and it's been amazing every day or whatever, and it's been head high, and then you come back, you can for maybe a couple of weeks be like, I'm not going to get in for that. But then 2-3 weeks after that, I sort of go back to waves where Ben Gravy wouldn't even get in. Yeah. He wouldn't even look twice at, and I'm like, I'm going to go. Because I need it.
It's worth a go, isn't it? After a while, you've got to get in somewhere. I definitely identify with that feeling as well.
And what's the other part of your job that you were telling us about earlier that you're off to later?
Oh, yeah, no, that's not a job. That is not... so I've started doing stand-up comedy.
How did that... How did... Well, we should ask if you can say what you do for what do you do for a normal job.
So I work for an engineering company doing recruitment.
Right, so it's engineering to surf podcast to stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So
obvious progression.
None of them link to each other at all.
Well, Mitch would disagree because Mitch always thinks normally when he's in the room on his own that he's the funniest person in the room anyway.
Nice. So challenge you to a comedy off, whatever that is. I really don't.
So why did I start doing that?
Yeah, how and all of that happened.
And why and so it's a lot of, I think everyone who does comedy sort of thinks they always think that they could do it. And like I turned 40 this year and I was like, if you're not going to do it now, then why'd you keep telling yourself that you could do it? Like I'd go watch comedians and I'd think, that looks so fun, I could do that. Yeah. And I'd thought that for 20 years. And then I was like, come on now, it's time to fucking grow up and pick up a microphone and have a go. And then I just started getting in touch with people who run open mic nights and asking if I could do it. And so I've been doing that since August, and then I'm hosting a gig tonight in Leeds.
How did it go? How did you first?
Pretty good, actually.
Was it terrifying?
Yeah, it was pretty scary, but like, and this sounds like such sort of wanky thing to say, but as soon as I got on stage, I was like, I like it up here. Like,
that's fair. That's fair. You should enjoy what you do, though.
Yeah,
right?
It started to feel like a bit natural, but then I've done one gig where I absolutely died on my ass, and then I was like, it didn't feel natural at that point.
How quick into the gig did you realise it was going south?
Not very long, like 2-3 minutes.
You should just go like that Bill Burr Philly rant where he just like goes in on everybody and just starts ripping them.
I'm not there yet. I want everyone to like me. That's my problem. I'm trying to be too nice to everyone. But
so what sort of comedy are you doing? Is it?
It's all. So I think I'm accidentally a clean comedian.
Yeah.
Like the only stuff I've got is not very risky. Okay. It's like there's a long story about my girlfriend getting bitten by a penguin. You know, there's like just a couple of little gentle puns and stuff. It's all quite silly. You know, it doesn't really come naturally to me to do like.
Do you know when you want
filth.
To get to it? You just want to be like, I don't know, like a turbo racist and homophobe. Is that kind of the goal?
Not for me, but it does like.
I'm not want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, you go to open mic nights, and there is still quite a lot of. This isn't a comedy podcast, but there is still quite a lot of like nonce jokes and dick jokes. That's still like. There's a lot of them, and I'm not saying. You know, they're not funny because they are when they're done properly and done really well. But I don't know. It doesn't really.
No, I mean, we would have no part of that. It's absolutely disgusting.
It's really. I've grown up, guys. That's why.
And have you had to deal with hecklers? Are you at that kind of stage yet?
I got heckled in Scarborough. Yeah, I did a gig round the corner.
Somebody that knew you?
No, they didn't know me, but it was it's because I said I called Scarborough a city, and they went. It's a town, you bitch, like that. No, it hasn't got a cathedral, you bitch. And then I did a little riff about that. I spoke to them about it for a bit. So they take geographical classification very seriously around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will not be called a city.
Yeah.
And what is it you're doing tonight? Did you say? Sorry, is it?
So yeah, tonight I'm at the Verve Comedy Cellar in Leeds.
Okay.
It's an open mic night, and yeah, I'm hosting that one. So yeah, I'll be there this evening.
Hosting's a big deal, no? Is that not a step up, or is that?
Yeah, maybe. I don't want to like toot my own horn too much, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of doing well now. Eh?
Yeah.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds mega. How long is the whole thing at that tonight?
Tonight someone's doing a work in progress show for the second half, so they'll be doing half an hour. And
Yeah.
then we've got four amazing up and coming comedians in the first half, so that'll be about 40 minutes.
All right.
So,
I think
that's cool.
what baffles me with comedy. How do you remember, especially for something, I don't know how long your sets are, but how do you remember that much?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, at the moment, I've not done anything above 15 minutes.
okay.
And like, I remember it I do say it over and over again to
Okay.
myself. Like,
Yeah.
if you saw, I'd be, like walking around my house repeating it basically. But there are people who just freestyle it a bit more. Just depends. Okay. You can tell, like, some of them are a bit more freewheeling. But yeah, I need to know what I'm saying.
Right. Okay.
With tiny bits of variation. But
yeah.
I mean, I love stand-up comedy, and like I used to love to hear the stories about it from someone like Billy Connolly, who said like he'd never know what he was going to say until he walked on stage.
Yeah, it's mental.
And it's like, how can you have that much confidence in yourself that you know you could just...
Yeah.
And like sometimes his gig would go on for like 3 or 4 hours or something like that, where he's just like, oh shit, I forgot the time.
And then you believe it from him as well.
Yeah, because you know, like, he's going to open his mouth and whatever comes out, and that's it.
And then there's other comedians where everything is so super structured that it would be impossible for that to happen. Where the show's so intricately put together that you literally could not make it up as you went along.
But I find as well, saying the comedy thing, and also I want to hear a story about a penguin because I can't get that out of my head. But I find that a lot of surfers that we speak to anyway are actually quite funny. There's a lot of people that laugh at the same sort of things and like have the same sort of humour within a lot of... There's some exceptions, obviously, and I know you're looking at me like that, and I know who you're thinking about as well.
No, I was more thinking I've spent so much time with you, I've never laughed once.
Yeah, right. I mean, I made you laugh so much you couldn't even catch a wave the other day.
I know what you mean, though. There's a lot of characters and a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And you talk to people and you think you could do stand-up if you wanted to. Like,
yeah.
I think surfing's got a tall poppy syndrome, doesn't it? Which we get from Australia, where we don't necessarily want people to sort of put themselves forward, and like, you know, we have a bit of a tendency to sort of chop people down and like.
Oh, we're selfish, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, there is a thing where like this could appear as I'm being a bit of a try-hard, like, you know, look at me, everyone, I am doing comedy and stuff. Yeah. But you do need to shut that out at some point. Yeah. If you decide you want to do it, you're never going to close that little voice in your brain that's going, it's time to have a go. So
fair play to you for taking that step as well.
Yeah.
Do you include surfing and your day job stuff in your
in the routine? I've done one joke about surfing.
Okay.
Where I've gone. So yeah, one of my other hobbies, not stand up, is I go around to kind of obscure, out the way spots. Sort of meet up with people in car parks quite often. People that I sort of know, you know, like kind of acquaintances. Some of them I consider friends. And we all put on like skin tight rubber clothing, and then we go surfing, and everyone laughs at that point. And then I'm like, and after the surfing, that's when we fuck each other in the car. So
we'll offer a surf shortly. So
yeah. If you're lucky, boys, you never know. So yeah, that's the only way I've worked it in so far.
Okay. Did you not used to be a comedian?
No, I used to do run open mics.
Bingo column, wasn't it?
Yeah, just because you literally just found out about that earlier.
No, I had to get that in.
Yeah.
All the ones.
Yeah, I did used to bingo call when I was like 16. But no, I did used to run open mics, and I had that thing, the complete opposite of like what you were saying. I first of all, when I started doing it, I was really nervous, and then I did it for about 3 or 4 years, and it got to a point where I was getting the same amount of enjoyment playing on a stage than I was playing in my lounge at home.
Right.
And I just lost all. And then I sort of knew if I carried on trying to push it, I'd just like put it down and never touch it again.
Yeah.
And so I just sort of stepped away from it for a while. But I don't know, that thing of like, I used to get that buzz of like playing in front of people. I know what you mean when you're like doing that stand up when you're in front of people and you're making them laugh or you're making them like feel some sort of emotion by performing something. And I don't know what happened. I just lost it completely. It was just like, it just didn't interest me. I think it was more like, I don't even know what I'm feeling, so I don't care what you're feeling. You know?
No, you do. I go through like waves of enthusiasm with stuff, you know? And and like surfing is one of the only things that has really kept me interested for ages and ages, you know, since I was a teenager. Is that because
you can't control it though?
Yeah, partly.
So you're always waiting for that next one.
Yeah, and it's just endlessly fascinating anyway, isn't it? And you know, you're never going to complete surfing. You know, you can't get to the end of surfing, you know.
What?
Oh, sorry, mate.
Oh, you're joking me. That's the only reason I'm here. So not a cheat.
No, level 100, and then they give you a golden surfboard and they say you're finished. You can't surf anymore. And like the comedy is a current fascination, and like, you know, but in my sort of deepest, darkest fantasies, I do sort of think, oh, maybe it'd be nice to quit having to have a proper job and I could just be a full-time comedian and podcaster, and like, wouldn't that be wonderful? But like, you know, you never know what might happen. It definitely isn't going to happen if you never do anything about it.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
Only holding yourself back, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So questions we often ask is your best wave and your worst wipeout.
Okay.
Or your best session. Doesn't have to be best wave.
Okay. I think I'd probably pick, for a best session, I think I'd probably pick a North Bay Scarborough session that happened a couple of years ago, in an October afternoon it was, just after low tide. People that surf North Bay, there's some debate about whether it's better on the drop towards low or pushing in after low tide. This was a low tide pushing in session, and I remember it was just like perfectly offshore, about like waist to chest high. And I remember seeing this wave rolling through, and there was a guy further up in where, come on John, sort yourself out, nearer the peak, and I was like, he's just going to go straight. I know he's just going to go straight. I've seen him just go straight on loads of waves. So I'm sort of paddling along next to him a bit. Sure enough, he stands up, just goes straight. The thing rolls through to me, and I get up, and it was like the first wave which I sort of came off the end and was like, that was a good one. The first one in a while that was like, felt proper good. Yeah. And and then I paddled back out, and I'd been chatting to someone in the lineup. She was like, a French person visiting from Manchester, and she was like, that looked like a good one, and we had a little chat. So that would be the best one.
It always matters when somebody sees it.
Yeah.
We don't have to speak about it, as long as I know that you know that it happened.
Yeah,
you actually set the scene for that wave better than I think anyone's ever set a scene. Like, you literally took me on a journey. You were like, it's a cold summer's day. You've got to. I was asleep the night before, and it was blowing strong.
You've got to. Well, what's the point? Like I think surfing at my level is all about like views or photographs that you could take in your mind.
Okay.
So like, I'm never gonna do a really on rail turn or do a layback or like nothing like that, but I will have moments where I'm looking and I'll just sort of capture something and think that is proper beautiful, you know.
For sure, yeah.
Well, you know, when you can see a wave stretching out in front of you and you get that unique view of like a ridge at the top of the wave. You can see it 3D.
Yeah.
Because you're slightly above it, and you can see the back, and you can see the lip, and you can see the front. Just stuff like that, and was like,
I'm accidentally in the right place.
Yeah, yeah.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, so it's stuff like that sticks out in my memory, and those are the sessions where I'm like, yes, it's all coming together, you know.
Yeah.
And what
Those
about the
bits
worst?
where you think you've cracked it?
Yeah, yeah. Just those little tiny moments, and then there's a lady in Saltburn who films from the pier quite a lot, and she has a YouTube channel called Surfers of the North Sea.
I know it, yeah.
And like, I've found myself on there a couple of times on waves that I've come off and thought, I bet that was a good one. And I've found myself and I've watched it back, and I've been like, oh God,
it's
like,
horrible seeing yourself.
Don't watch yourself surf. Like, what it looks like Winnie the Pooh standing up. It's not a good look. But yeah, and in terms of like worst surfs, I think probably the Portugal one's got a rank as pretty humiliating and like pretty low moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and there's been a couple of times where I've bitten off a bit more than I can chew around here as well.
Yeah.
But mainly for me, that's like my pop-up's pretty slow. I'm quite slow to my feet.
Yeah.
So when I've done the classic like over the falls, head first and backwards, trying to take off on a wave that's a bit too hollow and like not making the takeoff.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple of them. But they're good as well in a way, aren't they? They keep you alive.
You learn, you learn. I mean, you've never died.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
What is your go-to on boards? What?
I currently have a one board quiver.
Yeah.
That is an old second-hand performance-y longboard. So it's like a 2+1 9.0.
Yeah.
Which I find like quite embarrassing, the design of it. So it's got like a quite garish tiki god face on the top third on the nose.
Yeah.
But it goes really well.
Yeah.
It gets you into waves really quick, and
That's
you can
the
still
thing.
turn it.
Yeah.
And I think even though the sort of performance-y area of longboarding is kind of not the coolest area anymore,
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I don't know. My longboard is my one I normally ride, which I always go back to, and I've like Dom from Origin made me a couple of boards, and I do surf, and I took one out the other day, but I'll always end up every now and then going back to this old longboard that I've got, and it's a piece of shit. It weighs a ton. I think it came from, I don't know what the equivalent is, but it's something that used to be called like Jackie's Corner where I lived, which is like a little shop on the corner that sold everything, but it was like a crap version of everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know where this board came from. I think one of my mates gave it to me. Yeah, he did. My mate gave it to me for something I did for him. He was like, oh, I used that. And I took it on a one-day loan. And basically one day I might give it back. But apart from that, no. And I just keep going back to it. And I've had always such fun sessions on it.
Right.
But to look at it and pick it, well, you've picked it up. You're like, Jesus, that's like ridiculously heavy. And it's just a fun board.
Yeah. Was that pretty much your first board you rode, though?
No.
It wasn't.
No, that first board I rode is the one that's behind me when we normally record.
Cheers for that. You could have just said yes. Don't matter.
No, it wasn't.
Have you setting me up for the first board question?
No. There's
a new question.
There's a new question I've added this
on.
week, and I've actually been really enjoying it because this is something for years I've been just doing polls on my own Instagram about, because it just frustrates the shit out of me.
It was what 3 things describe you as?
Let's get in the capsule.
Yeah.
So, let's say I am 6 foot, which I of course am, as you would have obviously noticed the second I walked in the door. Well, that guy's very tall.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I've just done a bottom turn and I'm just now riding along the wave, right?
All right.
But because my knees just lock out on a turn, I'm stood fully erect. Right?
Okay.
I'm really happy. And I'm at the bottom of the wave. The top of the wave is in line with the top of my head. I'm 6 foot, so I'm at the bottom and the top. How big in feet is the wave?
So, what? In
feet.
In feet.
Yep.
American or Hawaiian?
No, just whatever you would call it.
6 foot. If you're 6 foot and it's 6 foot, I'd call it 6 foot. I measure it from the front. I don't measure from the back.
Everyone does the same thing that this has been asked to so far, and they go,
what scale?
Yeah, what? But I totally agree with that. That if you're at the bottom of the wave and the wave's at your head height, a head height wave is 6 foot.
Yeah.
To me, I know it doesn't work. A head height wave 6 foot, double overhead should be 12 foot, but it doesn't go up in that sense, you know?
Yeah, is it not just
it's 2
Europeans
foot,
and Americans measure the face and Hawaiians measure the back?
Measure the back. Who surfs the back? Also, who can see the back? How do you see the back?
To be fair, they invented surfing so they can do whatever they want.
That doesn't translate to here, though, does it, in the northeast?
No.
You can barely see the front because it's brown.
Yeah. And then you get into other things like double overhead, double over whose head? Like that's And have you seen like how they measured Sebastian Steutner's world record? Have you seen what they've done? They've extrapolated it based on the measurements of his shin bone.
Which means, so the smallest part of his body they've taken.
Which means that somewhere there's a database of WSL or big wave surfers' shin bone measurements, and they've just sort of gone. We know that part of his leg is X amount long. Right, and we can check. We can see that that's straight. He's not bending that part of his leg. How many of his shin bones fit into this Nazare beast?
So do you think they knew it was plastic surgery for surfers if he was getting shin bone extensions?
Shin
Make a little my knee. I've got a prosthetic knee up here.
Yeah.
No, you'd want it smaller, wouldn't you? So it was bigger.
Oh yeah, that's the other
More
way around.
shins
Yeah.
per wave.
Less
Yeah.
cut,
I've just screwed it
cut half my
myself
shin
then,
out.
haven't I?
Yeah,
Well, we know your shin's 2 foot long, or whatever.
Maybe we should be just measuring in shins.
Yeah.
Never mind 6 foot. How many shins is it?
52 shins.
Oh,
high.
he's hung like a shin.
Yeah, mad. But do we need to measure waves anyway? That's another part of the question, isn't it?
Well,
It's about how you feel, right?
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not about how you feel when you're trying to tell somebody how big it was.
No, it's true. Yeah.
It's that.
It felt huge.
It's
Yeah.
that. I think is that thing, like we said, that perfect session. 3 to 5, 6 foot, whatever. And to say that 3 to 5 to me is between waist and chest height. That's 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Where 3 to 5 is to other people is just huge
Yeah,
overhead.
that's massive to other people. It's just
Yeah.
such a backwards system.
It's
it
weird.
does my head in.
It's a weird discrepancy, yeah. But I think also, like, the people that play it down would always play it down, wouldn't they? Like, if you...
But why?
there's
It's supposed to be, you're trying to get to an honest answer. It's a genuine question,
Maybe, doesn't it sort of play into your kind of Dragon Slayer mystique? If you're like, oh, it's not that big, and then you pull around the corner and it's triple overhead. So don't you sort of think
I
that
get
guy,
that.
that guy
here's
thinks
where
it's
that
not that
theory,
big?
Here's where that theory's backwards. Have you ever listened to a mate who, I don't know, had a fight with some Marine on Saturday night? It always starts off, he's like, John, I'm not joking. This guy was huge. Like, seriously huge. They would never start going, no, he was tiny. He was so skinny. I felt bad knocking him out. They would never start with that. So why are we putting it that way there, but not over here?
True. Well, yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that.
So,
yeah.
a couple of things then. What's the best thing about surfing in the Northeast?
Variety. Like, it can be so much of what you can find a bit that suits your level, basically. And there is a lot of really heavy waves around here. But there's also some nice mellow beach breaks, and there's some, and you can still find quiet bits. Yeah, and the community's great.
It's a huge community in the Northeast.
Yeah.
I've been saying this to Pete quite a bit.
It's
I
a
think
huge
it's massive.
area, that's why.
Huge.
Yeah, it's massive.
The jungle really is massive.
Yeah.
But it is. I think it's an overlooked area for just how good and how influential a surf community it is.
Yeah, and that's a good thing in some ways. Like,
yeah, true. Yeah.
It kind of, but also the cold balances that out. I think like the waves are best around here in the winter, and you have to really want to be in the sea. To bother with it in the
well,
winter.
that's levels the playing field, doesn't it? If you can learn to, if you love it when it's Baltic and brown, you're just going to love it
then
all
you
the time.
genuinely love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Also, do you know anyone that's been bitten by a penguin?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
Better if you said no.
So at Scarborough Sea Life Centre, there's a bit where you can get in the penguin enclosure and get up close to the penguins. And I should stress that is allowed and encouraged. But we went in, and one of the penguins just walked over, like as if he was supposed to be greeting the guests or something. She kneels down to meet him. He just launched himself at her and bit her just under the leg, under the knee.
Shin.
She tried to push me in between her and the penguin, and it didn't work. And then all hell breaks loose, and they sort of wrangled him off into a corner. And I said to one of the guys, I was like, did we do something to provoke the attack? And he went, no, that's just Rico. He's just a bad penguin. And then I do another 2 minutes on that in the stand-up set. But that's what happened, yeah.
I'd love to hear
Is
that.
Rico still with us?
As far as I know, yeah, he's got his picture on the website.
Biting people.
He's got a mugshot, holding up one of those number plates.
Like that Wallace and Gromit chicken one,
Yeah.
where it's chicken run. All right, man. Well, that's been absolutely amazing for you to chat to us, and cheers for driving over and taking the time to
No worries.
have a chat with us. Tell us where, or tell the people out there where they can find you online, and or if they want to come and heckle you at a comedy show, or
So if you follow at Swell Podcast on Instagram, then you'd be able to find me through that. My links are on there and everything, but that's the principal one, and then it's on all your podcast platforms, I think. So And thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Pleasure.
Been a pleasure. Thanks again.
Nice one, boys.
Cheers.
Well, thanks for that, John. It was nice to speak to someone who also runs a podcast, Pete, to hear their own struggles as well as you had or have.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things. I've been on his podcast now. I don't think he's invited you. Don't like you, but I've been on his, and it was really interesting. As I said, he started off doing just North Swell, and the north coast of the UK, and then he's branched out and he's doing these. I can't remember what he called it, but it's basically
Capsules. Capsules.
Yeah, capsules. That's it. Surf capsule. And you pick 3 things and go in. It's quite a good idea, actually. So, we might steal that at some point, but see what happens.
Yeah, we thought of it before we'd heard of it, just to say. No, I love. I'd like to hear that story more told from a comedic perspective as well about his missus getting bitten by a penguin. yeah,
that was good. That was. But yeah, nice guy. Like by what I've seen of his surfing and that, everything, good surfer, and. Yeah, he was just nice, friendly, and he's been nice ever since he started his North Swell podcast, and I started speaking to him. He's just been a nice guy. Yeah,
super nice guy as well. And I would love to go see one of his shows. Like you, I love stand-up comedy, and actually I've not been to a comedy gig since pre-COVID, if I remember.
No, I went to Rob Beckett.
When?
After COVID, because it kept getting postponed.
Oh, I remember you saying.
And then there was a big hoo-ha with the seats and everything, and I go off on one now, but yeah, basically I went to see him in Bristol Hippodrome and got there, and they were like, "Yeah, your show was this morning," and we were like, "Well, it didn't say," and we didn't get an email, and so we ended up getting box seats on the side of the stage, which cost me an extortionate amount of money, and but got a refund on the other tickets, so it's all good in the end. Anyway, that's nothing to do with anything.
There's different types of people that go to comedy clubs, and I am definitely one of them that I want to be sat right at the front, right in the middle, so I can get rinsed.
Do not get me started on that, because that is where my seat was originally, right at the front, in the front row, at the front, and he spoke to a guy who was sat there, whose name was Pete, and he was a painter. I was like, is this guy just got my life?
I remember when me and Special K we first started dating. We went to a comedy gig in Edinburgh, and it was just like it was like a pub with an event room, and I don't know, every last Sunday of the month or something, they'd have a comedy show or something like that on. I remember being in there, and the comedian was on stage, and obviously we just got together, right? So you're still in that show off stage.
Yeah.
And the comedian, again, same thing. I was like, let's sit at the front. She's like, no, don't sit at the front because we'll take the piss. I was like, exactly. And the guy, literally, he's a couple of minutes into his set, and he was like, all right, fella. So he F-bombed me straight away. Like, you're a squaddy. Getting fellaed is highly offensive. Call it an F-bomb. So he F-bombed me straight away, and I was like, motherfucker. And he's chatting away to me, and he's like, fella, do you like comedy, do you? And I was like, oh, man, I love comedy. Honestly, it's my absolute favourite thing to do ever. Can you let me know what time it starts? In the room, it's classic, right? It's the obvious thing to say, but classic. Like, I don't know how he never saw it coming, but I looked like an absolute hero. It was like boyfriend points. Like, oh, this guy. I was well stoked. It was like he queued me up for it.
Yeah, they're always the best ones. But yeah, so we've gone right off on one talking about comedy, which if you're interested in that, that's like more buy me coffee stuff. That's what we do, just go off on stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good fun, and I think we got 2 done in that day. That was the day we travelled your hour and a half to Scarborough from Bamburgh.
Pretty close by, yeah.
Yeah,
inch on a map.
Yeah, inch on a map. Yeah. But yeah, nice guy, nice conversation. And check out the North Swell podcast if you want to hear more from John.
Definitely. And it's a shame we didn't get a surf that day as well. Like, it was absolutely howling.
It was, wasn't it? It was, there's, if I remember rightly, there's 2 bays, wasn't there? One was howling and one was just flat.
Yeah, that's right. It was exactly like that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey ho. Had some surfs since then, so pretty happy. But let's be clear. It has been the worst season, not only for surf, but for weather. Like, I don't know what it's like down your way right now, but I'm looking out the window and it is literally dark. It's, what is it? It's exactly 12 o'clock in the day, and it's almost dark outside because it's so gloomy. It's not even warm. It's miserable. Last week I was in Cornwall, Devon, and South Wales.
Did you come and see me? Did you come and see me?
Yep, right there. And the weather was the same. It was wet, miserable, windy. I'm like, man, this is south of France. Admittedly, the water is roasting, but my God, I can't deal with it. It's bad enough, no surf, but the weather as well. I'm over it.
Yeah,
I'm over
I
it.
don't know if I said it already. I saw a post the other day that said, I'm glad the summer's finally here and we get longer days. We get to watch the rain for longer. That's
so true.
Which is
as well.
pretty true.
Oh, and also,
it's been shite.
Here's a shout, and I really hope this person's listening. And if you are, I really want to. I'm gonna climb inside you. I am going to climb inside your body, and I'm going to stretch myself fully out, and then I'm going to punch fuck out of both of us. Whoever stole my wash bag in Newquay. Stole my wash. Where's me washboard? Some absolute belter, right? We got to the Airbnb near Watergate Bay. On the, when you drive up the hill, you go past Porth.
Yeah.
We had an Airbnb there for work. We were selling the idea of surfing in Scotland to Newquay. What an odd concept when you say it like that. But anyway, it was myself and the Grand Kahuna, Martin. It's his actual surf title. It's like I'm not sure which age category.
Surf Grandad.
The Scottish Surfing Federation comps, but great title. And we grabbed all the stuff out of the van to go up to the Airbnb. And when you've like, right, cool, I've got everything in my hands. I've managed to figure this out. I'm not going to drop anything. Then you realise you've not shut the van door.
Yeah.
So I put my wash bag on the little wall, knowing, even in the moment, I knew I'd forget it. I never put stuff down. I knew I'd forget it.
Yeah.
Closed the door, obviously forgot it. We went back up to the flat. We went for dinner, went straight for a surf immediately, actually. Went Belushi's, Jeremy Kyle's bar, and went straight for a surf, which I've never done. Belly full of Tex-Mex burger or something. Came back and I was like, oh shit, my wash bag. And this is a car park that's well out of the way as well. It's not like you're passing it and it's gone. I'm like, who steals a wash bag? And it's like, expensive electric toothbrush and all the other bits that you just, I'm always on the road. So that bag's full of stuff that you don't realise how much it adds up until you're replacing it.
You'd think if you're always on the road and it's something that you really need, you'd take more fucking care of it, to be honest.
Well, but fair enough, right? I left it out, so it's there to be taken, I guess. I hate thieves anyway, but a wash bag, like what are you going to do with that? It was just one of them things. I told you before, I stopped a patrol once in Afghan because they decided they were going early and nobody told me, and they came and woke me up, and I was at the front gate waiting to leave the patrol base. I was like licking my hairy teeth, and I was like, nah man, I don't do this until I've brushed my teeth. And they waited, I went back and brushed my teeth. So it might be a small thing to anyone else listening, but honestly, it pissed me off so much. So if you're listening, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it right there.
If you're listening, go full on, here we go, right? What else been happening apart from you travelling down literally past my house twice and not even calling in to see me?
Here, let's be clear. You were supposed to come to us twice in Devon and in Cornwall. That's what was supposed to have happened.
Was it?
You even said you were coming.
Yeah, I might have done. I was busy working. Some of us actually have to
drove.
work. We can't just drive around the country surfing.
I was working. It took 11 hours to get to South Wales because of traffic and everything else. Oh, I tell you what as well, right? We got to this Airbnb. We got there at 2 o'clock in the morning. And at 7 o'clock, and we spoke about this in the Buy Me a Coffee, but at 7 o'clock when we were driving down, I realised I hadn't received there's a bit of a different system. So when I do my Airbnb, I send you the complete details, lockbox, where it is, all that stuff. But they've got a system where separately and outside of Airbnb, you'll receive an email or a text with the combination code and the lockbox details. So I hadn't received it. I'm like, oh shit, I've not received that. So messaged the guest on Airbnb. I was like, oh, sorry, I've not received these details. No reply. Hour goes by. I'm like, oh, it's now like 8 o'clock. I'm like, right, okay. Message him again. It's now 10 o'clock. Nothing. I'm like, there must be a phone number. Found a phone number, called it, and it said they were on another line on a call. And I was like, oh, at least I've definitely the numbers right. That kept happening. Text them. That kept happening. So 2 o'clock in the morning, we arrive at the Airbnb. I know there's a lockbox somewhere, but no combination. I thought, at least between the two of us, we can just go through the numbers. And I honestly don't know how the police didn't turn up, because both of us, and it's like it was weird. It's like a kind of almost like a farm complex with nice houses on it, like holiday homes on it.
Yeah.
And we're just both out with phone torches trying to find a lockbox. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So myself and the Grand Kahuna end up sleeping in my van. I sleep across the front seats because, I'm a good guy. I gave him the bed. And I wasn't uncomfortable, but it was obviously lacking space. My knees were bent all night. And about 10 minutes in, all I heard from Martin, the talk about timing, was that after an 11-hour drive as well, 2 o'clock in the morning, he goes, it's actually really roomy in the back of this van, isn't it? Oh my God, Martin. Really? And so I wake up at 4 minutes to 8, having had a terrible sleep.
Yeah.
At 3 minutes to 8, I receive a text from Airbnb from the host saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry. The key was under this little slab of rock that's over there. And I was like, oh my God. And what's annoying is we both saw that bit of slate that was loose, but we weren't looking for a key. We were looking for a lockbox. Lockboxes aren't the smallest of things. So a lockbox was never going to be under there. So we didn't move it. And I was like, oh, we're joking. She was like, obviously I'll offer you a full refund and stuff. And I was like, yeah, obviously you will. And we hadn't been in. We were off to meet Hugh and Mike from Portuguese Surf School and Logan's S&C. We've had on the show before. And I messaged, look, we've not been in, obviously. We've not had the key. We've not had access. But do you mind if we use the toilet before we go? But I don't want to put myself in a position where I couldn't get a refund because we've been inside the place.
Yeah.
And she went, yeah, of course you could. It was so frustrating. It might be the nicest Airbnb I have ever seen anywhere. And I was just like seeing myself across my front seats in my own van. I was like, this is absolutely shit. But super cool to be back down in Porthcawl. Catch up with Hugh, absolute legend, and Mike as well.
Yeah. Get any board shorts?
Bit of a road trip.
Get any board shorts?
I think I bought 9 pairs of boardies from Escape Water Sports. Thank you very much, Mike. Cracking price if you're a size medium. Yeah. I was like, I've been desperate to get down there just to do a restock because I do wear boardies 12 months of the year.
Yeah.
So it happened.
You done anything else? Done any social media posts or anything like that? About anything?
So the reason we were down,
no.
we were
not that.
Like I say, we're selling the idea. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about a social media post you did, and it caused me no end of headache.
In fact, that's on today. Yeah. So, yesterday, if you're listening to this tomorrow or now, because we're so prepared, we're recording this literally the day before it goes out. So the Wave, UK-based in the South, Wave Garden facility, are hosting a show with our name, almost.
It's
and
not,
never even,
is it? It's not our name. They've just called it the Surf Show.
Come on.
Someone
the
then saw
the UK
it.
Surf Show, and it seems to me, and maybe I'm being pernickety, but why wouldn't you reach out and be like, oh, why don't you come and get involved? So anyway, we'd seen it before. I've been advertising it for a while, and I was like, oh, I might just Photoshop a UK on that. Where I went wrong though, because I photoshopped it to make it look like it was theirs.
Yeah.
I should have done it so it was like a scribble, so it was obviously photoshopped. I think that's what I should have done. But I posted it on a UK Surf Show stories to say, oh, check out this. No, actually, I posted it with no context. It was just the date and everything else. And Pete seems to think he was inundated with messages about, oh, it's amazing you guys are doing that.
It was. You're a fucking idiot.
I mean, I looked and there was about 3 messages.
Yeah.
It just
of course
tells
it was.
me that Pete just never replies.
Yeah, of course it was. I replied to all the ones you haven't as well. What else been happening? Anything else? We've been up to anything good? Anything good coming up? Well, tell us.
Is there anything good? Yeah, there's some things, but I can't tell you about. But it's about to get exciting at Lost Shore for Shizzle.
Yeah.
Really exciting, actually. It's funny because obviously I'm on site all the time and I'm massively involved with it. Have been for over a year. And in my head, I still can't picture it. When I'm on site, I still can't quite see the finished article in my head, which is mental. And I've said before, like the scale is off the grid. Like, it's so big when you're stood in the site in the quarry. But I think because I've seen it just as a building site, it's hard to see. But even when I was at the Wave last week, and I didn't actually get a surf, annoyingly. They didn't have a decent session for me on, so the Grand Kahuna surfed, and I took a Zoom call on the wall at the takeoff zone, and they were like, it was quite a serious call as well, and they had no idea what it was. They could just see a nice sunny blue sky behind me, but every time the Grand Kahuna, Martin took off on a wave, like if he caught one, I was like, yeah, whipping and hollering, hands up in the air, or if he stacked it, I was like, boo, doing thumbs down. If they were on the call going, oh, is everything okay there, and I was like, oh no, that's absolutely fine. Kind of forgetting where I was, but like it's just a nice reminder, because man, it is such a playground for surfers. It is so much fun. I got it, I didn't get in, but yeah, it's coming soon. Let's just say that. But yeah, so I got to surf in buzzing, mate, to surf putts. I love putts. Putts is my favourite Devon spot, as you know. So nice to be in. And man, I didn't take into account. You know, I say it all the time, and you might think I'm joking, but the water is so much warmer down there, so much warmer. Yeah. And I kind of forgot how much warmer it was. So I went down with 4-3 and boots,
hood, like, gloves.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was like, I knew it wouldn't be a hood, because I've ditched my hood here, but there's been a few sessions where I've been like, whoop. I think I ditched my gloves for a couple of sessions, and then there was a few sessions I was like, oh, I should put my gloves back on. So it's definitely not been get rid of boots yet up here. Yeah. So I was like, I'll go down with a 4-3. Went out just in the 4-3 and no boots. And was like, I wasn't even aware I didn't have boots on. That's how warm it was. I definitely could have done a 3-2 shorty, unquestionably. And I'm like, fuck, it's not even fair.
I got this thing, like with surfing in boots and surfing bare feet and stuff like that, I always think, because of this country, you wear boots, I think, more than you get to surf barefoot, like in this country. And
that's true.
I always think, I really like surfing in boots, it's fine. And then as soon as I've had like 1 or 2 sessions in bare feet, I'm like, it's so much better surfing in bare feet.
Totally.
You know,
I don't like surfing in boots. Like,
but I don't think it's like, I don't think I had one time years ago that I went out and I had boots on. And someone was like taking the piss at me, going, "You don't need boots at this time," like making me feel shit that I had boots on at that like certain time of year. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, "What the fuck's it got to do? You know, if you want to go surfing in the summer in a fucking 6 mil wetsuit, do it. You know, do what you want. Like, you shouldn't take the piss out of people just for like what they're wearing or what that is." On the other hand, you always look like a right tool.
So, I got a really nice surf with Martin. It was quite big but weak when we surfed putts, which, to be fair, is my kind of favourite. That's my favourite conditions, like size, because it looks like you're surfing bombs. But I know I'm not going to die as a result. Yeah. And then we had a couple of sessions. And where did we surf? We surfed... got a session at Watergate, which, man, was super fun. Done like huge Superman eject, which I was absolutely stoked about. But as I was mid-air coming off the top of it, I looked and I spotted the Grand Kahuna. And he just wasn't looking at me. I could see him looking round, but he wasn't.
You're in the air going, "Oi,
he's not going to believe it." He's not going to believe it. Yeah. And we surfed Tolkarn as well. So buzzing and nice to catch up. We caught up with loads of people that have been on the show. Dom, for one, from Surf Sanctuary Days. His episode had gone down a storm. Got a coffee and a cake in the Headland Hotel. I've never been in there before on Fistral. Didn't realise that's where Dom's surf school was. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I didn't realise that's where he was. Like,
when we did the episode and he told us, that's when I realised.
Right, okay. No, I remember when we done that episode, though, we were both hanging out, because I think we'd done 2 before that, and then we went for dinner, which set us off even more so.
Yeah, I think that was the day with 3, wasn't it? That was the one where we did 3.
It was the day with 3, but it was also the day that Sailors and Yuki gave us the chips seasoning.
Which I still haven't got.
And I still use. No, I gave you some when you were up.
Did you bollocks?
On a bag.
No, you didn't. You put the bag aside for me, and then I never took it.
Oh, right, okay. Well, yeah. So that was cool. It was great to catch up with loads of people. Jenny as well. Rob Barbara from the NEC. just loads of people. It was just super cool. And do you know what? I'm not sure if they listen to the show, but I do a massive shout out for Stu from SSS Newquay, who's down on Town Beach.
Yeah.
They've followed me for years, and I think we've had conversations here and there. Guy's American, and it looks like Ben Gravy actually a little bit. And we met him as part of what we're doing with Lost Shore. And, we just got on with somebody and you're like, damn, why have we never met before? It was kind of like that.
That's like how you felt about me, wasn't it? The same as you felt about me when you met me. Why have we never met before? And I was like, oh, fuck, he's got another one I've got to talk to now as well.
Yeah, I was gutted it wasn't Leighton. I was wanting Leighton to be my mate, not you.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go then. That's it. What a prick.
And then Escape Surf School in Newquay as well. Guy called Mike Young owns that. Really good guy. I actually don't think there's a performance coach like him in the UK.
Yeah.
Super high level. Anyway, so I was leaving merch. I was leaving like Lost Shore merch in the surf schools. And obviously, if you'd seen it, I was putting it on Lost Shore stories to say, if you're in the area, go to the surf school and grab yourself a t-shirt, a hat, a tote bag, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a way of just sending our traffic to them, to the surf schools to give back, right? And we went out for a few drinks that night with Mike, myself and Martin and Mike down in Porth. And it came up in conversation in the night. I was like, did people turn up and pick up the merch? And he went, yeah, somebody came and picked it up. And I was like, somebody came and picked it up? Like, how many people? And he went, no, it's just a guy. And I was like, what? One guy came, there was loads of it. I was like, one guy came and picked all of it up. And he was like, yeah, was that not the thing? And I was like, no, we're supposed to come and get a t-shirt. So there's a guy cutting about Newquay with 15 Lost Shore t-shirts in different colours. Like, what would you possibly want with all of that?
Oh, brilliant. Well, we've got some exciting things coming up, haven't we? We've got some people that we've got some new merchandise coming. And different things people are sending us. It seemed to go a bit mental where we had 3 or 4 different people contact us at the same time saying, hey, do you want some shit? And we're like, yeah, we love shit.
Buses.
Yeah. And on the note of wanting some shit, if anyone out there fancies buying me a new Apple Mac, that would be lovely. Oh, dear God. Computer problems have been my main issue the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to have to bite the bullet and buy a new one. But
you do.
Yeah, it processes my audio when I'm coming to do the podcast, and all of a sudden it goes, nah, sorry, I don't want to do that. So that's another great fun and stress. But yeah, so don't forget, if you want 10% off at Surface Wetsuits, use the discount code UK Surf Show 24, and that will get you 10% off anything you order from Surface.
And if you want 10% off of molded earplugs, use the discount code UK Surf Show 2024, and that will get you 10% off products with 19 degrees.
Yeah, and I think we may be having a discount code coming for Cookville clothing soon.
Right, okay.
They are.
I thought you were going to say someone else.
They are very nice, and yeah, as we said, we've both got them, both worn the stuff, and it's really good, really comfy, really nice clothing, good quality. So yeah,
we do love it.
Yeah, so listen out for the new stuff soon, and yeah, go and check out the North Swell podcast as well. I think that's it.
And
We've
John
rambled
live in concert.
Yeah, we've rambled on long enough. I think. Well, I think by the look of this, we've gone on for 25 minutes or something like that. So,
I think so.
Yeah, and
podcast ends.
Bye.